I'll admit it, I've been spending way too much time on Reddit lately, but I found some stories that are just too good not to share. So today, I'm going to read a few while I make my way through pools. Let's get into the first story. The first story is titled, Messaged my friend 2 weeks ago about how she hurt my feelings and haven't gotten a response. Context. I'm 21, and my friend is also 21. We've been friends since high school, but she's always had a problem with responding to people and would blame it on her ADHD. Recently, I've realized she's been responding to our other friends and not to me, which hurt my feelings. I ended up sending her a message basically saying, "Hey, I feel like I put in more effort in this friendship than you do, and it hurts me. I can tell you're ignoring me and responding to other people." She sent a message saying she's going to respond and that she's not ignoring me, which was 2 weeks ago. Then, when I asked if I would hear her side, she just said, "You will," and that was last week. Still nothing. I know I should probably just leave it, but does anyone have any advice going forward with this friendship if she does ever respond? I honestly think she's already done her part. She was direct, she explained how she felt, and she gave her friend more than enough time to respond. Now, I would step back, not as punishment and not to play games, but because a friendship shouldn't leave you constantly wondering whether the other person even wants you around. If her friend comes back with a genuine explanation and actually starts putting effort into the relationship, maybe there's something to rebuild, but I wouldn't keep begging for basic communication. What would you do in her place? Second story. The story goes like this. Am I overreacting by distancing myself from a long-term friend because he's not respecting my boundaries? Context. I, 18 future, have a friend, John, 19 future, who I've known for about 5 years. We've always had pretty different opinions on a lot of things, but I thought we respected each other. He's an atheist, while I was raised Christian and have chosen to continue practicing Christianity. We've never really had an issue with that because neither of us tried to force our beliefs on the other. There's another important piece of context. I have an uncle who has struggled with addiction since he was 13 and is still dealing with it today. He's only 8 years older than me, so growing up, I looked up to him a lot. Because of his addiction, I witnessed a lot of things that deeply affected me and my family, and I've carried a lot of trauma from it. Because of that, I've always been very against drugs and alcohol. I'm not someone who lectures other people about it, but whenever the subject comes up, I've been pretty clear that I'm not interested in trying drugs or drinking. John has known all of this for years. I've gone to school with John since I was in 4th grade. He was in 5th, but we became much closer during my freshman year. I really valued our friendship because he was someone I could go to when I needed advice or just someone to talk to. My sophomore year was especially difficult for me. I was dealing with a lot of stress, and around that time, my uncle relapsed and went missing for 6 months. John knew what I was going through, and I trusted him with a lot of things that were very personal and vulnerable. Things eventually got better, but after that, John started treating me like I was fragile or unstable. It was honestly kind of annoying, but after talking to him about it a few times, it became more manageable. Fast forward to my senior year of high school, which was his freshman year of college. I turned 18 in January, and as graduation got closer, John became increasingly insistent that I needed to make my own choices. He would repeatedly question whether I actually believed what I believed, and tell me that he thought it was silly to limit the amount of fun and experiences I could have because of my beliefs. I explained to him multiple times that my decision to be Christian and follow certain personal standards was my choice. Obviously, my parents influenced me growing up, but ultimately, I had decided for myself what I believed and how I wanted to live. He continued making jokes about how boring I was, how I was limiting myself, and how I should break the rules now that I was an adult. I told him I wasn't going to do that. These were standards I had personally chosen for myself, and I wasn't willing to compromise my morals just because someone else thought I was boring. After I graduated, John became especially insistent that I should come visit him at the house he was renting off campus with his college friends. He told me that it would be the perfect opportunity for me to try all the drugs, drink alcohol, and do all the things my parents would never approve of. I told him multiple times that I wasn't interested and that I was uncomfortable with the idea, especially because I didn't know his roommates. Then I found out something I hadn't known before. One of John's old friends told me that he wouldn't trust John to have me staying at the house with him and his roommates, especially because John had apparently had a crush on me since my freshman year. I had absolutely no idea about the crush, so finding that out was pretty shocking. Obviously, I don't blame him for having feelings for me. He can't control that, but it definitely changed how I viewed the situation, especially considering how persistent he had been about getting me to come stay with him. At that point, I started distancing myself from him. Part of it was because I felt uncomfortable knowing that he had apparently liked me for years without me knowing. But more importantly, I was becoming increasingly frustrated with how often he disregarded my opinions, beliefs, and boundaries. The drug and alcohol stuff especially bothered me, because he knew exactly why I felt the way I did. He knew about my uncle. He knew what I had witnessed. He knew how strongly I felt about not using drugs or alcohol. And despite knowing all of that, he repeatedly encouraged me to try them anyway, and treated my boundaries like they were something I needed to grow out of. Before completely distancing myself, I had one last phone call with him. I explained that I was uncomfortable with the way he had been treating me, that I didn't appreciate him disregarding my boundaries and beliefs, and that his behavior was making me uncomfortable. He didn't really take the conversations seriously. That was ultimately what made me stop reaching out. About a month and a half later, he contacted me again. He said he had heard from one of our mutual friends that he had apparently done something to upset me. He said he had no idea what he could possibly have done, and felt that I was treating him unfairly by not explaining what he had done and giving him a chance to change. He also apologized, but essentially said, "I'm sorry for whatever I did," while also saying he couldn't think of anything he had actually done wrong. And now I'm conflicted. Part of me wants to continue the friendship because we've known each other for 5 years, and he was genuinely someone I trusted and cared about for a long time. But another part of me doesn't want to keep someone close to me who repeatedly ignores my boundaries, dismisses things that are important to me, and pressures me to do things I have repeatedly said I'm uncomfortable with. I also feel betrayed because he knew about some of the most painful experiences of my childhood and still chose to repeatedly push the exact thing that caused so much of that hurt. At the same time, I'm wondering if I'm being too harsh by distancing myself instead of giving him another chance. What do I do here? Am I being unreasonable for ending or distancing myself from a 5+ year friendship over this? And should I respond to his message explaining everything again? Or is the fact that I already told him how I felt enough? For me, the biggest red flag is not even that he had a crush on her, it's that he was repeatedly trying to convince her to stay at a house with people she didn't know, drink, use drugs, and ignore boundaries he had known about for years. Once you add the fact that he apparently had feelings for her, I can completely understand why the whole situation started to feel different to her. Maybe he didn't have bad intentions, but good intentions don't automatically erase disrespectful behavior. Do you think this friendship can actually be repaired? Alright, here's story number 3. Blocked my toxic friend and now she's making new numbers plus fake accounts. Should I change my number? I blocked my toxic friend today after a bunch of drama. I made her an iCloud a while ago so she could text her boyfriend. And now she wants the code back and is threatening to call my mom. Since I blocked her, she's made like 10 new numbers and fake accounts and is texting my partner stuff about me and saying rude things in the messages. My question is, will changing my number make her stop? Or will it just make her spiral more and start contacting people I know? I've already blocked everything and warned my mom and partner. Has anyone dealt with this? What actually made them stop? I just want her to leave me and my people alone. I think the biggest mistake would be treating this like normal friendship drama. Once someone is repeatedly getting around blocks and involving your partner and family, the goal shouldn't be fixing the friendship anymore. It should be creating distance. I'd keep every message, every fake account, and every new number documented. Because if this gets worse, having a record could matter. And personally, I wouldn't warn her that I was changing my number or give her another conversation for closure. Would you cut contact completely at this point? Now for story number 4, I have no friends and feel like nobody really considers me a friend. What should I do? I don't have friends. Even online, I wasn't active on any social media. I downloaded Telegram a few days ago and Reddit. I have made 1 or 2 friends, but I DK why those people reply late. Even before this, whatever friends I had, they all used to reply late. Late meaning, I will message right now and that person will even see it, and after replying to it, will disappear. Then their message comes after 4 to 5 hours, and this keeps happening continuously. That is why today I will block everyone forever. Because of all this, I feel like they all don't consider me their friend. And it's not even like a person stays busy 24/7. Even when I say this to them, they start saying that I reply on time. Every time. I reply fast, etc., etc. I think the biggest issue here is that taking 4 or 5 hours to reply doesn't automatically mean someone doesn't consider you a friend. People have work, school, family, hobbies, or sometimes they just don't feel like being on their phone. I completely understand why being ignored can hurt, especially when you already feel lonely, but blocking everyone because they don't respond quickly enough might actually make that loneliness worse. Friendship isn't really about being available every minute of the day. I think what matters more is how someone treats you overall, whether they care when you genuinely need them, and whether the friendship feels mutual over time. Do you think waiting 4 or 5 hours for a reply is enough reason to question a friendship? Or do you think this person is expecting too much? Around friendship sounds exhausting from the very beginning. I'm starting to hate my BSF. I'm gonna be straightforward with it and tell the reason why. So this girl, let's call her Sophia. We've been friends for 6 years and she was my first ever best friend. We had a bunch of falling outs, but right now we're still friends, but she's kinda weird. First of all, she's a pretty mean person in general. She loves gossip and likes to talk a lot of shit. She's the type of person who would bully people for their weight, that are on the spectrum, and just for how they look and dress in general. There was this one time where she was at a restaurant and she filmed a person stimming, and I asked her, "What's the point of this?" Because like, what the fuck? Do you want me to laugh? Like, what was the goal here? And then she told me she got scared because the person was looking at her. They weren't even looking at her, by the way. She has a lot of friends, I think. We don't go to the same school. But she's also the type of friend that is very clingy. She always wants to call with me. She always asks to hang out. We're neighbors, by the way, so houses are just a walking distance. And she also ranks her friends. Like she's always asking who's my first best friend, and it's kind of fucked up, but I just say it's her. Anyway, her parents spoil her a lot, but they are kind of strict when it comes to school, I would say. I'm not a smart person and I struggle a lot with learning, especially math. But Sophia is really good at math, and YKW, good for her. But since she knows I'm dumb, she does use it against me. There was this one time where I haven't been answering her calls because I have been in a depressive state recently. And she sends me this paragraph about how she feels like I don't want to be her friend anymore because of how I wasn't answering her calls. And she says that I'm not even a busy person and that she works harder in school than I do. And just saying a bunch of shit on how her life is so hard. I'm not saying her problems aren't valid, but it's the fact how she ignores that I also work very hard. And she knows that I've been struggling with my mental health recently. And when I told her that, all she did was like my message and sent me a bunch of TikToks on how she will never leave me. I've struggled with shit before when I was younger. I've been clean for 5 years now, so I have a bunch of old scars on my arm. From what I know, mental health has become a big thing in social media. Not that it's a bad thing, by the way, it's good. But a lot of teens nowadays think it's cool to be sad. But anyway, since then, Sophia has been asking me about my scars and why'd I do it. I just told her it's just dumb shit I was sad about before and it's not a good thing to do. And now, she sends me and her other friends a bunch of TikToks about shit. I think it's important to say, but it's about Edie and Uicide. But the thing is, I don't even think she's doing any of those. Hopefully not. I'm not trying to invalidate her feelings,
but I see her every day and she likes to eat a bunch and always asks me to buy her food. And every time I try to comfort her, she's always saying like, "Oh my God, you're being dramatic. I'm literally okay." And I don't know if it's a cry for help or she's the type of person who romanticizes about being sad, but doesn't even experience those things. I don't know what to do anymore. And I also don't plan on confronting her for this shit, but it's tiring to have a friend like her. I don't know if I should just break the friendship, but anyway, advice would be really helpful and itty for reading. What bothers me the most is the lack of empathy. She'll make fun of strangers, rank her friends, use the poster's struggles against her, and then expect constant attention whenever she wants it. Friendship shouldn't work like that. You can care about someone and still recognize that the way they treat you isn't healthy. I also wouldn't assume what Sophia is or isn't going through mentally, but if she keeps sending serious content and then dismissing every attempt to help, I can understand why the poster feels confused and exhausted. Do you think Sophia needs help? Or is she just being a bad friend?
Okay, this next one escalates really fast. So-called friend called me names and blocked me because I didn't have money to send her. My knee has just started acting up and I already wasn't in the mood for bullshit when a longtime friend, we'll call her Jay, hit me up saying she needed $35 from me. I have $15 to my name that I have to use on pain relief creams and meds until I get in to see my doctor. I have loaned her money before, I never saw it back, and never made a big deal of it. I calmly told Jay that I didn't have money right now, but I could see if our other friend could help her. I hit our other friend up, let's call him P. P said not to give Jay a cent because she's spending recklessly and already asked P for $150 that P gave her 2 days ago. P told me that Jay's Social Security disability pay was more than mine, and that if I'm making it work and Jay can't, then it's Jay's problem. I told Jay that P said he can't help either. She asked me why I even talked to P. That's when I revealed that I know he sent her $150 2 days ago, and that she gets more money than me per month. That's when Jay called me a dirty, trifling bitch and said I didn't know what it's like to be a single mom. I pointed out that I was a single mom before I married my husband, and that she doesn't have her kids. After that, she called me a drug addict piece of shit. I used to use meth, but I'm in recovery. And called my daughter slow. I told her to lose my number because I was already having a bad day, but this bitch was on bridge burning time. Let the bridge burn. I'm never helping her again. For me, the friendship was already one-sided before the argument even happened. She had borrowed money before, never paid it back, and still came asking again. But the moment she realized she wasn't getting what she wanted, she went straight for the most personal things she could use to hurt her friend. Bringing up someone's past addiction and insulting their child because they wouldn't give you money is way beyond a normal argument. At that point, I'd let the friendship end too. Would you ever forgive someone after they crossed that line? And that's the last story for today. If you made it this far, let me know in the comments which story you had the strongest reaction to, and whether you agreed with my take. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe for more Reddit stories like these. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.